Please welcome award-winning location professional and the former president of the Location Managers Guild International, Mike Fantasia.
These shows get better every year, don't they? Good evening, everyone. Let me set the location for you. I mean, if not tonight, then when? It's my first scout on this new film, Killers of the Flower Moon, after the hiatus lifted. I'm in a small art gallery sitting with the director and the producer and the co-author of the screenplay. Sounds pretty crowded, but no, it's just one guy, Martin friggin' Scorsese. I mean, it's Martin Scorsese. There's a lot on the line. The budget's 9 figures. It's the studio's biggest feature film ever. Me, part of my team, and a few production people are the sole holdovers from the first incarnation of the film that was postponed because of COVID. We're all pretty nervous. Marty's in town. We're about to shine a light on a very, very dark chapter of American history. And to do it, and to do it right, we're turning back the clock a century on a big chunk of Oklahoma oil land, all of it on the Osage Nation. With all this at stake, what's our discussion at lunch? We're two Sicilian guys. We're discussing the difference between our mother's respective homemade sauce recipes. How do you slice the garlic? How do you roll the meatballs? You roll them or do you flatten them? A big part of the discussion. How to cook the perfect al dente pasta. And it's not because his mind was elsewhere. Believe me, he'd been working on this show for years, and his researchers had given us a trove of information to use for our scouts, to guide our scouts. The production was offered very large incentives to shoot elsewhere, but this is where the story happened, and this is where the story was to be told, as far as Marty was concerned. He had long fights, many fights with the studio. Because when Martin Scorsese wants to make a movie, what matters is authenticity, which is why Taxi Driver wasn't shot in Biloxi, or why Casino wasn't shot in Miami, or Mean Streets wasn't shot in Spokane, or Silence wasn't shot in Korea. Marty wants authentic. We don't really have the time to properly analyze all the factors that make Marty's movies classics. And yeah, I get to call him Marty now. But you know those films already because you've seen them all. You love them. They're some of the very best films ever captured on celluloid. They're honest, they're always epic, and they always remain strangely intimate character studies. They have empathy, they have love, hate, respect, greed, honor, murder, betrayal. All the things you need to make great movies. He sees it all in his own mind, and our task as location professionals is to deliver it to him, deliver what he sees. You never work harder than you work when you work with Marty, because if he trusts you to deliver, you'd rather run over broken glass than disappoint him. Because when you work with Marty, you never give less than 2,000% of yourself. And I'll tell you, in 31 years, that was the hardest frickin' movie I've ever done. It was a bitch. For all kinds of reasons, but not Marty. You know, you've all had this happen. You get really pissed off when you've been busting your ass on locations, you find great locations, you scout it, you prep it, and then the UPM or the producer calls and says, change the story, change the location. We need to find another spot, start over. I never was pissed off at Marty because all of his changes made the movie better. He's an unmatched genius. And while he knows exactly what he wants, he's not arrogant. He'll listen, he's human. He'll change his mind, but let's be honest. His ideas, no matter what they are frickin' better than yours or mine or anybody else's. He's got a little bit of a track record, which is why you hang on to his every word. You listen to infinite references to 1920s, 30s, 40s, Japanese, French, German, Polish, Hungarian, Italian films. You've never heard of any of them. You pretend you do. Of course, you sit there, you nod. And sometimes you grab your phone and you hit record so that you go out into the hallway, you hit IMDb and figure out what in God's name he's talking about. And then you have to find a copy of it so you can scroll, 7.5 hours into the movie and find that one location he's talking about. And without question, every seeming tangent is perfectly on track to the task at hand. His eyes are everywhere, his fingerprints are on everything. Marty was so dedicated to getting Killers made, this epic American saga, to get it made perfectly, that we shot in many of the locations where the story actually took place. 100 years ago right about now. We filmed on ranches, we filmed in state parks, on county lakes, inside and outside almost 75 period buildings. We turned 3 quiet streets of Pawhuska, Oklahoma into the thriving town that it was in the 1920s with horses and wagons and cars and airplanes. And we used dozens of houses in Fairfax which we returned to their former glory. The film is being edited now, and actually I talked to one of the producers the other day and he said he saw the film. Rough cut, probably 400 hours long, knowing Marty. But he said, it is an epic film. Epic film. This will go down as a classic. And it's already being nominated for the most anticipated film of 2023. And we did all that so Marty could portray the horror of the story in the most accurate way possible. So why am I up here jabbering about Marty? The LMGI Eva Monley Award is given to an industry professional who has demonstrated above and beyond support of the work of location professionals. Marty takes that a step farther. His half-century of brilliance, locations are always a vital co-star in every movie he makes. And his mother, Catherine, made a hell of a sauce, and so did my mom, Connie. Let's roll the clips. She did.
What's the matter with you? What's the matter with you?
Anywhere else in the country, I was a bookie, hassled by cops day and night. But here, I'm Mr. Rothstein. I'm not only legitimate, but running a casino.
Agents, Frankie, look at this.
Yeah. I hope you're not turning into one of them sob sisters supposed to get caught. You're not cracking up, are you?
I'm not leaving. The show goes on. Drama in the jungle.
My buddy Marty. I'm very honored to present the 2022 Location Managers Guild International Eva Monley Award to Martin Scorsese. Marty couldn't be here tonight. He's home making his Mama Catherine sauce, but he sent us this message.
Hello. I'm very, very pleased and honored to receive this award, particularly since it's named after Eva Monley, who played actually a very crucial role in bringing some of the finest films I've ever seen to life. She was a remarkable woman. Whenever I think of location scouting, I think of the story of Fellini, Federico Fellini. Towards the end of his life, I was able to get to sort of hang out with him for a while and try to get some money for a documentary he wanted to make on the movie business. And one of the key films he wanted to make was one on The Producer. And The Producer had a whole section on the location manager. And he described how they checked locations in Italy. It was very important for the location person to work out the day. Traffic was hard. They had to get to a certain location, here, there, whatever. Then you got to take a break and then go back to your locations for the afternoon and that sort of thing. But the most important thing for the location manager for Fellini was that it was important to find a location around lunchtime that they knew they weren't going to use. It was no good for the film, but it was near the best restaurant. So that everybody can eat and say they checked the location, it was on the roster, fine, they can go back to work. That was the way. So I always thought of that. But of course, Fellini was shooting in Rome. I mean, I shot my last picture in Oklahoma. There weren't many restaurants where I was shooting. The film before that was The Irishman, which had a lot of locations, but the restaurants in those places where we were shooting can't be really seriously compared to the ones in Rome. So for me, a location manager is a role, though it's never discussed in film criticism. It's not acknowledged by the Academy or the other big awards. But nonetheless, it's as crucial as the jobs that everybody talks about. The location manager really has to know the movie, to see the movie from every possible angle. And I depend on people like Mike Fantasia and Kit Myers. And because of the way that productions are organized, I really have time to thank them the right way, properly. To them and to all the great location managers I've worked with over the years. You've helped taking the images I see in my mind's eye and help create the finished product on screen. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart. So thank you again for this wonderful honor.